I'd like to take you on a unique adventure today as I share my amazing experience of visiting the otherworldly realm. Imagine nitrous oxide, affectionately known as laughing gas, mysteriously entwined with a brush with the transcendental, possibly on the verge of the hereafter during a routine dental surgery. This period of my life began when I was just 16 years old, when I was still naive and the world was shrouded in secrets that were just waiting to be solved. The setting was the charming surroundings of a neighborhood dental office, a suggestion given to my parents by the parents of my then BU, the dignified protectors of my teenage heart. My parents thought they had found a dental maestro whose reputation for brilliance was greater than his talent with a drill, and they implicitly trusted their judgment. I remember that one day I was lying back in a dentist chair in a little yet peculiarly unforgettable room. There was a door next to my feet and a little window to the left that let in light. The wall with its bland photos stared back at me from where I lay, providing me with nothing interesting to look at other than the basic design of a dental office. The door was still open, allowing the inflow of well-known dentist office noises, voices, music drifting in from hidden speakers, and the incessant ring of the phone. A sturdy man, the dentist leaned on my right arm, his weight making me a little uncomfortable as he got ready to treat me. He would usually start the Novocaine injection with nitrous oxide, which was new to me to help calm the patient down before the dreaded needle arrived. This time, even though I see the dentist a lot, a filling needed to be inserted, which meant my jaw had to be numbed. I could practically fall asleep in this clinical environment, unaffected by dental treatments. My lover had told me fascinating stories about the effects of the gas, so I immediately agreed to the dentist's request for information on it. I breathed in the gas while the mask covered my face, and something strange that is difficult to describe came over me. Suddenly, I was floating over the dental chair, removed from time limitations. In this bizarre disassociation, I focused on the dentistry scene below as if it were a soundless movie with no soundtrack. A powerful presence begged me to step in, at first uninterested. Reluctantly, I yielded and removed the mask off the patient's face as per their quiet order. But as I did, it seemed to me that I was only an observer in this strange scene, which was disturbing. I was driven to help the sick, but the presence of something invisible made me reluctant to use force. I was told to ignore everything else and concentrate only on the scene as it was happening, which is exactly what I did. Time, if such a thing could be measured, went on its relentless forward march. The invisible force continued to nag at me, more insistently to stay focused and bring about change. My focus was drawn to the task at hand by an invisible force, resisting the need to investigate the mysterious surroundings. Any attempt to take my eyes off of it was quickly rebuffed, giving me a strange feeling of confinement during this dreamlike experience. It was as if an invisible hand pulled my eyes back to the sight below in the middle of the bizarre dissociation of my awareness. Inexplicably, I felt detached from my body, as though I had no physical head to look away from the sight in front of me. My eyes were drawn to the girl and the mask against my natural reluctance, as if they were controlled by something outside of myself. At last, giving in to the nagging voice in my head, I concentrated on the crucial duty of taking the mask off the girl's face. My view changed in an instant, and I was inside the girl's body, struggling with a strange feeling of controlling her actions. Despite my lack of touch perception, a combination of reluctance and compulsion compelled me to help her. It seemed like negotiating the rough seas of teenage rebellion, proclaiming one's independence in the face of outside pressure. Motivated by a need that went beyond physical perception, I fought to move the girl's limbs inside her body. I felt a slow sense of reconnection as my awareness abruptly returned to my own body. When I concentrated on helping the girl, my vision blended with hers such that I could steer her arm to take off the mask. I had a confusing separation upon returning to my physical self, as though my spirit needed to reacclimate to its bodily form. The dentist tried to carry on with the procedure, apparently unaware of the strange events that had occurred as I struggled with the after effects of the gas. I was confused and exhausted, but something changed inside of me, and I made the decision to refuse the mask. I turned a hard glare on the dentist at that crucial time, showing my independence in a way that defied my teenage years. The dentist, who wasn't used to such aggressive behavior, seemed unfazed, and the appointment went smoothly, exuding a strange sense of normalcy. As I made eye contact with the dentist, the once familiar sounds of the dental office subsided into a quiet conversation filled with implicit authority. Even with the lingering feeling of weirdness in the air, I was determined to refuse, emboldened by a strength I had never felt before that defied logic. And when the visit came to an end, I left the dentist's office feeling rather determined, albeit this mysterious experience had left me feeling curious and apprehensive. Thinking back on that bizarre experience, I find myself pushing it into the back of my memory, where oddities and unexplainable things go to collect dust. It seemed too ridiculous, too fantastical to discuss with anyone. I knew in my gut that it was preferable to keep such things to myself since I was afraid of being called weird. In the end, I had no context for what had happened. I had not yet come across the idea of near-death experiences, so any attempt at explanation would be fruitless. But in the midst of all the chaos, there was a constant curiosity about this mysterious person who had entered my life. I wanted to ask him questions, talk to him, and just look at his shape with unrestrained excitement. I wanted to solve the puzzles around his existence. It was not horror that surrounded me when he first appeared. Rather, it was a deep familiarity, as if his presence was inevitable. It was as though I was in the company of a compassionate giant because of the gentle warmth that radiated from him. My mental image of him was quite detailed, even if my physical eyes were unable to make out his shape, a further indication of the mysterious nature of our bond. He seemed to be hovering just out of reach, but still very much in my immediate vicinity, as though I were in a pitch-black room. I was confronted with the dichotomy of being able to perceive beyond the boundaries of my physical body, finding it difficult to reconcile the sense of his presence with the limitations of my senses. Even though the event was bizarre, there was a certain sense of authenticity that filled my mind. This was a real palpable contact with a reality that defies comprehension. It wasn't a dream or a product of my mind. I had an unexplainable drive to explore the unknown. Thus, I felt compelled to look beyond the boundaries of my environment. However, an enigmatic barrier foiled my attempts to look above the veil, and I was forced to surrender to the restrictions of my new world. I experienced a deep sense of serenity and enduring confidence following that extraordinary experience. The entity that guarded me silently turned into a reassuring presence at difficult times and a loyal companion who led me through the twists and turns of life. His impact on my mind was profound, even if it was intangible. It gave me a feeling of direction and clarity. I have a deep sense of thankfulness for the mysterious connection that was created in the furnace of uncertainty as I draw this story to an end. The impact of that event on my life is still unquestionably deep, even though its complexities may never entirely be solved. Consequently, I welcome the mystery of the unknown and put my faith in the knowledge of the occult forces that mold our fate.